Hey, MathCook here. This video contains one of many examples in my Algebra 2 library. The rest of those examples, along with hundreds of other videos, are only available at mathcook.com. Let's MathCook it up. This question says, given the ellipse x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared all over 9 equals 1, find the center, vertices, and foci, then graph it. All right, so the three things they're asking for are center, vertices, and foci, and then they're asking us to graph. So let's go ahead and bring down those items. Now, I always tell my students when it comes to ellipses, you want to find the center and then your ABCs. Once you find your ABCs, you can find anything on the ellipse. So here's some background on the two types of ellipses that you'll see. So there's the horizontal ellipse here, and that's when the bigger number is underneath the x factor here. So a squared is always the bigger number. Now, if it's a horizontal ellipse, all of the major components, meaning the center, the foci here, and the vertices, all fall on the major axis, which is a horizontal axis. Now, a is the distance between the center and the vertex. So there's a, distance between center and vertex. B is the distance between the center and the co-vertex, either up or down in this case. And then C is the distance between the center and the foci, so either right or left here. All right, now if the bigger number is underneath the y, then the ellipse is a vertical ellipse, so it's going to go up and down. So it's going to look more vertical. And again, the major components, meaning the center, the foci, and the vertices, will all lie on the vertical axis. All right, and the one last thing to talk about is the center. The center is just HK here. Whatever those values are. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring down our equation here and let's talk about it. So the center is going to be the opposite of whatever's here and here. So the center is going to be negative 3, comma 2. So we can go ahead and write that down for our center. Negative 3, comma 2. All right, and then next we want to find A, B, and C. Now notice there's no number written down here. So what number is actually down here? Well, there's a 1, so I'm going to write this as over 1. All right, remember we said the larger of these two numbers is a squared, which is the major axis. So in this case, the 9 is the larger between the 1 and the 9, so the 9 is going to be our a squared. So we're going to write a squared equals 9, and we'll take the square root of both sides, and then a just equals 3. All right, I'm going to write a little note here that tells us that the y-axis is the major axis. We'll curl this down. So y is the major axis. So we're going to look at our ellipse is going to be a vertical ellipse here going up and down. All right, now let's find b. So b squared equals 1. So we'll go ahead and label that. So b squared equals 1. We take the square root of both sides, and then b equals 1. All right. So there we go. So we have our b value and our a value. So I'm going to go ahead and write those up here. So a is 3 and b is 1. Okay, now how do we find c? So c, remember, is the distance from the center to each focus here. So how do we find c? Well, the equation we're going to use is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Now I'm going to erase our chart here so we have room to work. Let's go ahead and erase that. And what is a squared? Well, a squared is 9. And b squared is 1. So we're going to plug in 9 and 1 for a squared and b squared and solve for c squared. So we have 9 minus 1. So c squared equals 8. Take the square root. So c equals the square root of 8. But square root of 8, if we break it down, is 2 root 2. All right, so I'll write that here for c. So now we know our c value. Okay, so to find the vertices and foci, you can get those right now, but I'm going to get those from graphing our center and ABCs. So one thing I always tell my students is everything stems from the center. So we definitely want to graph our center first. So it's negative 3. So we go left 3, up 2. So that's like right there. So there is our center. And then now let's look at A. So remember, A is the distance from the center to the vertex. And we're looking at since the bigger number is underneath the y, we're looking at a vertical. So our ellipse is going to be vertical. So our key components are going to be on the vertical axis there. So that means our vertex is going to be this point, so we're going to go up and down to get to the vertices. So A is 3, so we're going to go up 3, so 1, 2, 3, so that takes us here to 5. So therefore one of our vertices is this point, and we go down 3 from the center, so we go 1, 2, 3. So our other vertex is right there. Now we can find our co-vertices, so we go left and right 1, which is B. So we start at the center, we go right 1, put our dot, and then we go left 1 and put our dot. All right, and then lastly our foci, which is 2 root 2. So we're going to go up and down again because the foci always lie on the major axis, which is up and down. So we're going to go up and down 2 root 2. So what is 2 root 2 though? Because we don't know what that value is. So let's go backwards. So see, it's really root 8. Root 8 is just under root 9, which is 3. So because it's just under root 9, so let's kind of write a little diagram here. So root 8 is just under root 9, and it's definitely bigger than root 4. Notice I'm looking at perfect squares. So that tells us it's between 2 and 3, but it's much closer to root 9, so it's much closer to 3. So that means root 8 is about, we'll just say like 2.8-ish. So that means we're going to go up 2.8, so that'll take us to about right there. So we'll put a red dot there for our focus, and then we'll go down about 2.8 as well. All right, so there is our graph. Now we have to just connect the outer portion here to make our smooth, kind of egg-looking like shape here. So it kind of goes like this here. All right, so there is our ellipse. I'll go ahead and label, so this is our center, so I'll put a C in the middle. This is our vertex, and then this guy here was one of the foci. Here is the other foci. Then we have our co-vertex, which they didn't ask for here, but that's what that is, the co-vertex. All right, so there is our ellipse, and now lastly we just got to find the vertices and the foci. So we start at the center, and because we're going up and down, so remember A was 3, so that means we added 3 and subtracted 3 from the y value of the vertex, and we picked the y because we're going up and down. So if we add 3, we'll get 5, so it'll be negative 3, comma 5. And if we subtract 3 from the 2, 2 minus 3 is negative 1. All right, so those are our two vertices. So we have 3, negative 3, 5, and negative 3, negative 1. And then the same idea for the foci. We're going to add and subtract 2 root 2, which is C, to the y value of the vertex. Because remember, we're going up and down from the center to get to these foci. So we're going to add and subtract 2 root 2 to the y value, or 2. So our foci are going to be negative 3, comma, 2 plus or minus 2 root 2. All right, and really these are two separate points here. I just wrote it as one point, but each point would be negative 3, comma, 2 plus 2 root 2, and then the other point would be negative 3, comma, 2 minus 2 root 2. All right, so we have found all the 3 things that you asked for, the center, vertices, and foci, all over here on the left, and then we have graphed our ellipse. Hey Kook, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. For unlimited access to all of my Algebra 2 videos, visit mathkook.com. Thanks for watching.